Lesson 8.5, Applications of Trigonometric Functions. Trigonometry can be used to solve a lot of problems using right triangles. One of the major applications is with angles of elevation and depression. So the first thing we need to do is get an understanding of what these are. Angles of elevation and depression are always measured off of the horizontal. So right here, this would be our angle of depression. It is the angle measured as if you are looking down from the horizontal. So if you're a bird flying across, it's kind of like how far the bird has to look down to see this point down at the bottom. Angles of elevation are the same idea. It would be this angle right here. And this is as if you are looking up, again, from the horizontal. The important thing to recognize here is that angles of elevation and depression are always measured off the horizontal, never off of the vertical. This brings up an interesting situation. If this is our horizontal, and we're talking about here, this is my angle of depression, this is my angle of elevation. So if we look at these both being horizontal, that's going to make these parallel, which makes this a transversal, and my angles of depression and elevation are just alternate interior angles, which means my angle of elevation and my angle of depression would be the same. The measure of these angles would always be congruent. That can be really helpful because sometimes you have the information in the lower part of your figure and they want the angle of depression. All you need to do is move that into your triangle. So let's look at an example. Our job here is to find the height of the tree. So I'm going to just call that X so we know what we're looking for. We're shown here an angle of elevation of 20 degrees here. We're also given a couple measurements of 20 feet from here to the person and 15 feet from the person to the tree. So if I want to look at this as a big right triangle problem, all I need is this side, which is 20 plus 15, or 35, and based on my angle of elevation, this is going to be my adjacent side. This is my hypotenuse up here. The X that I'm looking for would be my opposite side. So since I'm involving my opposite side and my adjacent, that's O and A. So that's my TOA, or tangent. So tangent of my angle is 20 degrees, would be opposite over adjacent. So it would be X over 35. Multiply your 35 across, and we would have 35 times the tangent of 20. Once you type that in your calculator, you're going to get about 12.739. So the tree is about 12.7 feet tall. Trig can be used to find the angles themselves as well. Here it's asking us to find the angle of depression. So first let's figure out which angle they're talking about. Find your horizontal and look down. So this should be my angle of depression from the top of the mountain to the bottom. Given this triangle right here, with this angle, this is my adjacent side. Here's my hypotenuse, and here's my opposite. So again, in this case, we have O and A. We want tangent. So we're going to set this up with tangent of my angle, which I don't know, so I'm just going to call it D for angle of depression, is equal to opposite over adjacent. So if you remember from the last lesson, to find an angle measure, we have to use an inverse trig function. So my angle is going to be the inverse tangent of 350 over 700, which you can reduce if you would like. Typing into the calculator, we're going to find D to be about 26.565. So if you're asked about your angle of depression, you would say that it is about 27 degrees. So let's look at some other word problems. When you approach a word problem involving trig, go through, find the important information. Steps 2, 3, and 4. So very important. You have to draw a picture to be able to figure out where everything is. In addition to drawing the picture, you need to label the picture. Once you've done that, it's just choosing the proper ratio and solving. So let's take a look at the first one. A rescue helicopter spots a Carnival cruise ship out at sea. Helicopter is flying 800 feet above sea level, and the angle of depression to the ship is 37 degrees. We're asked to find the distance from the helicopter to the ship. I want you to pause the video and draw this picture. Label everything that you know. Once you've done that, start the video again. All right, here's my artistic rendering of the situation. They also tell us that the angle of depression is 37 degrees. Remember that this is always from the horizontal. So this is 37 degrees. It also tells me that the helicopter is 800 feet above sea level. So this is 800. So if I want to use the triangle that's showing up here, then I'm just going to use alternate interior angles to move that 37 degrees to being an angle of elevation. The problem asks for the distance from the helicopter to the ship. Remember that distance is always short as straight line, so this is going to be what we're looking for. With this, here is my angle, making this my opposite side. This is my hypotenuse. O and H means I need sine. So we're going to set this up, sine of my angle. My angle is 37 degrees. Has to be opposite over hypotenuse, so it's going to be 800 over x. Solve, I'm going to multiply x up, and then I'm going to divide by sine of 37, and type that in my calculator. My calculator is going to tell me that this is approximately 1029.312. So to answer the question, I would say that the helicopter is about 1,329 feet from the cruise ship. Pause the video, read the next situation, and draw your picture. Once you've drawn the picture, resume the video. Make sure your picture matches mine. Hopefully you have a picture something like this. I want you to look at this, identify your label your sides. Stop the video, try to set up the equation, and then resume again to make sure it matches mine. Hopefully you've chosen tangent for this, and you should have an equation that reads tangent 26 equals x over 217. Multiplying our 217 across, we get an equation that looks like this. We can type that into your calculator and find that x is approximately 105.838, or to answer the question, it would be about 106 feet tall. Stop the video, draw your next picture, and resume. Hopefully your picture looks something like mine. And again, we've got opposite and adjacent, so we're going to be using tangent. Tangent of your angle. Your angle we don't know, so we're just going to call that x. Should be opposite 142 over adjacent 259. Since you're finding an angle, you're going to have to use your inverse trig function of 142 over 259. Type that into your calculator and make sure you're calculating properly. You should be getting 28.734. So we would answer the question and say that the angle of elevation is about 29 degrees. Okay, on the next page, I want you to go through the same process. I'm going to let you get a little further this time. Draw the picture, set up the equation, and then resume the video. Hopefully you've got the equation sine of 60 is equal to x over 8. Multiplying my 8 across, I would get 8 sine 60. into my calculator, it's going to tell me this is about 6.928. So I would say that it reaches up about 7 feet. Now you may have noticed that what you were dealing with is a 60-degree angle. So if you think back on special right triangles, we have another method that we could use to solve this problem. If you have a triangle that looks like this is your 30-degree angle. So this would be n, 2n, n radical 3. So if you know that this is 8, you can use that to find n to be 4, which means this side is 4 and this side is 4 radical 3. This is what we're looking for, and if you type 4 radical 3 into your calculator, you get 6.928 approximately. Both methods are valid. Next one I want you to do on your own. Draw the picture, set it up, take it all the way through to your equation, and then resume the video. Alright, here we have our plane taking off, and yes, that is an airplane. You've got the information labeled, and we've given you a nice hint here to remind you that you need to keep your units the same. So if I use 1,000 feet here, I can't use a 1 along the bottom. I need to use 5,280. I'm working my problem in similar units then. So we get tangent of x equals 1,000 over 5,280. I want you to go ahead and solve this on your own. And when your teacher checks your notes, they will expect this to be completed. This last problem, once you understand what you're looking at, I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Here is my mountain. And so your skier, keep in mind where your skier is. Your skier is going to be going down the slope. There's my skier. So when it says the ski slope is 550 yards long, we are talking about this distance, the distance the skier skis. Then it says that it has a vertical drop. Well, let's think about from the top to the bottom, my vertical drop would be 130 yards. There's my right angle. Remember that your angle of depression has to be from the horizontal, so it's going to be right here. Pull this back into the problem. Use your alternate interior angle. This would also be your angle of depression. It would have the same measure. So I want you to go ahead and work this problem out. You should be able to finish your labeling now. You're being asked to find that angle, so everything you need is on this figure at this point. I want you to finish this one on your own as well, and your teacher will check this in class the next time. This completes the notes, and from here you should be going on and doing your Tier 1 and your knowledge check.